But let's talk about the fights this weekend. Okay, there are it's a moderately interesting card, is what a moderately interesting lineup of fights, I should say. The most popular fighter fighting this weekend is Gervonta Davis, but Gervonta is in the ring basically with a guy who is more than likely going to be overmatched in Ricardo Nunez. Davis is going to be defending his WBA junior lightweight title. Now, Ricardo Nunez, when you look at his record, he's a 25-year-old Panamanian. Nickname is El Scientifico. But when you look at his record, to 21-2 with 19 knockouts, one of his losses is by a KO. When you look at the record, it seems really impressive, right? But then you start to look at who he's beaten, right? And just to put this in the proper perspective, in April, the end of April, which this was Nunez's last fight, he beat Eduardo Pacheco, whose record was 22-30-3. Beat him in Panama City by a first round knockout. Now, he's had some good wins over the likes of Elvis Torres, but most of the fighters that he's fought have not been anybody that you more than likely have ever heard of. As a matter of fact, up to now, he's only had 3 fights that were scheduled for longer than 10 rounds in his career. So this is not a guy who is expected to really push Gervonta Davis. And to be honest with you, this is one of the biggest criticisms that Gervonta has right now. And I think people who are in the know, they know that this really isn't on Gervonta, right? Because he's not making these decisions. You listen to Gervonta talk, he wants everybody. He wants Tevin Farmer. He wants Vasil Lomachenko. He wants everybody. But the people on his team, Mayweather and everybody else that are pulling the strings, are somewhat protecting him. They don't want him to step out and have too significant of a challenge and perhaps lose early. And they're really subscribing to this need to maintain type of a profile. And I really think it's kind of hurting him. I really do. I'm going to tell you, it's kind of hurting him. Gervonta is such a magnetic type of a star. There's going to be a point where they're going to have to take a chance with him. Going to have to take a chance. Going to have to get him in the ring with somebody of some major significance. I see Killam the Pro is saying Gervonta Davis versus Tevin Farmer needs to happen. It absolutely does. But Tevin Farmer is a fantastic amateur fighter. And a fantastic fighter with a great amateur pedigree. And that's a tough, everybody knows that's a tough, you listen to Tank, he's saying it's not a tough fight, but of course he's going to say that. But that would clearly be the best opponent that Gervonta has faced. Right now, if you had to really ask yourself, who is the best opponent that Gervonta has been in the ring with? I'm going to look back at it, but off the top of my head, I would have to say, was it Jose Pedraza? Is that his best victory? Jose Pedraza is a former world champion, a good fighter, but you could say Jesus Cuellar. He was a good fighter. He knocked him out in the 3rd round. I just don't know. Some might say Cuellar, but he hasn't fought anybody, guys. He really has not fought anyone yet. So he doesn't deserve to be grouped in with the truly elite guys, not yet. 21-0, 20 knockouts. Tank can punch. He can punch with any super featherweight there is, probably punching with the lightweights as well, and maybe even the super lightweights. But he needs to get in the ring with somebody of some significance, and that has not happened yet, and it is not happening this weekend in his hometown of Baltimore. Also on that card, you get Yuriorkis Gamboa against Rocky Martinez, Jezreel Corrales versus Ladarius Miller, and it is going to be televised on Showtime. So if you're looking for a fight to watch, that's one of the cards you have to choose from. Now, just so happens, my man Tevin Farmer is fighting on the same day. They seem to be on the same schedules quite often, to be honest. They fight either the same day or within a week or so of each other. So, the timing definitely matches up. But Tevin Farmer will be in with Guilherme Frenoy, I believe it is. I haven't seen him fight, so I don't know much about him. Farmer's IBF junior lightweight title was going to be on the line. Not a huge fight, obviously, is the co-main event on this card, and from Arlington, Texas. The title fight that everybody's talking about, and in my opinion, the biggest fight of the weekend, is Maurice Hooker versus Jose Ramirez for it's a unification bout, the WBO WBC Junior Welterweight Championship. Hooker is an underrated guy, in my opinion. His long arm skill, deceptive power, and just a slick boxer. Jose Ramirez, though, is like a workhorse, man. He's a workhorse, constantly coming forward. He throws punches from different angles. His defense is much better than what you would expect when you first see him start to fight. I think he is really a sleeper star right now in the sport that isn't quite getting the type of accolades that he deserves. I think Hooker Ramirez is a fantastic fight. Can't wait to watch that one. That one is going to be streamed exclusively on DAZN. So if I had to give you a recommendation of the one fight you need to see this weekend, if you don't see any other fights, for me, that one is going to be Maurice Hooker versus Jose Ramirez. I'm not expecting anything beneath a fantastic fight for that. So Overhand says Tank is the best 130 pounder in his opinion. He doesn't feel like claiming the throne yet. He might be. Gervonta Davis might very well be the best 130 pounder in the world. If that proves to be the case, I would not be surprised. But at some point, he's got to step it up. They got to take the training wheels off of him and let him go out there and ride that bike for itself. I mean, you can see the talent. You can see the explosiveness. You can see the fact that when Gervonta lands on most 130 pounders, it's a different type of situation than when most 130 pounders land. And that's something that I don't think is going to change because he starts fighting better fighters. I think how much he gets touched might change. Maybe his accuracy changes because he's now fighting slicker guys. But that talent is real. It's real. But now he needs to get the W's so that the talent and the record and the quality of the fighters on the record begin to match. So I think that that's where he is right now. So like I said, it's going to be an interesting not that fight, but it's going to be an interesting weekend. But I mean, let's be honest. Gervonta is going to knock out Ricardo Nunez inside 3 rounds. If Ricardo Nunez sees the 4th round, I will be shocked. I will be shocked, dumbfounded, led astray, run amok if that happens. I just don't see it. I don't see it taking place. So, but it is boxing and anything can happen. So we're going to move into this week's fights. I didn't give you my predictions, right? So this is what we're going to do, right? So Peter and we're going to give our predictions for the televised main events, co-main events, the bigger fights that are coming up each weekend. And we're going to pick the fighter that we think is going to win. We're going to try to pick the method of victory. Is he going to win by decision? Is he going to win by a stoppage? And then if it is a stoppage, we're going to try to pick the round that he won. So every week for every fight, we got 3 possible points. 1 point if we pick the winner correctly, 2 points if we pick the method of victory, and a 3rd point if we can pick the round. So if we can be specific enough to pick the round, and we're going to keep like a running tally of our accuracy for our predictions. Now, thankfully, we're starting this week because both of us would have been in the hole because we both picked Thurman to beat Pacquiao, and that didn't happen. So let's talk about some of the fights, like I said, that we were talking about before. We really only got to go over 3 fights, really. I think just the main event of the Showtime card, Gervonta Davis against Ricardo Nunez. Now, we won't start keeping the standings yet because Peter's not here. So I'm just going to do this one we're going to call this one a practice round, right? So I got Gervonta Davis, KO of Ricardo Nunez in the 2nd round. 2nd round. I'm thinking 3rd, but I'm going to go ahead and say 2nd round KO. Gervonta Davis knocks out Ricardo Nunez. I don't think the kid has any business in the ring with him. You look at his KO numbers, and it would appear that he punches hard. but we haven't seen him in there with good competition. If you go to YouTube, you're on YouTube now. If you open up a separate window and you search him, Ricardo Nunez, and you better off searching one of his opponent's names as well, because obviously Ricardo Nunez is not that rare of a name. You search one of his opponent's names too, you should be able to watch a full fight, and you'll see kind of what I mean. There's no way. I just can't imagine. I mean, it's boxing. Crazy things happen, but I just can't really imagine it, right? Now, Tevin Farmer against Guilherme Frenois. I got Tevin Farmer winning this fight, and I got Tevin Farmer winning this fight by a 8th round TKO. I think Frenois gives him a little bit tougher of a fight than what we can expect Nunez to give Gervonta Davis. I think the competition is obviously a little bit tougher for him, but I still think Tevin Farmer wins. I also predict that they will go at each other in some way, shape, or form on social media afterwards. But Maurice Hooker, Jose Ramirez is the real one. That's the tough one, right? To show you how tough of a call it is. Now, Ramirez is the favorite. He is the favorite to win, but we're not talking about long, crazy odds here at all. According to mybookie.ag, Jose Ramirez right now is a minus 135 favorite. Maurice Hooker is a plus 115 underdog. So for every $100 you bet on Maurice Hooker, if you're right, you get $115 back. $100 bet pays you about $215. Just to let you know, I'm going to throw these odds out here for you. Gervonta Davis is a minus 5,000. A minus 5,000 favorite over Ricardo Nunez. Like, that shouldn't even, like, they should replace that on my bookie. Instead of saying just minus 5,000, they should say, don't even worry about it. They should just write, don't even worry about it. Because if you're minus 5,000, it's some difference going on. Ricardo Nunez is a plus 1,500 underdog. If you bet $100, you get $1,600 back if this guy pulls an upset. Don't do it. He's not going to do it. Tevin Farmer is a minus 2290 favorite, and Guilherme Frenois is plus 1180. So he's almost in Nunez territory. So neither fighter is going to get seriously tested because both fighters are fighting on the same night, and they're both fighting guys who, we all expect them to run through. Perhaps there is some sort of deal that's being worked on. I hope that that's the case. But getting back to the Ramirez Hooker fight, like I said, minus 135 for Ramirez. I'm going to go with Ramirez. I'm going to go with Ramirez by split decision. I think these guys are really well matched. I think a split decision, and I think it's a fight that ends up spawning a rematch. I just think it is. It's one of those fights that's going to be so tight. And Overhand is saying that Ramirez work rate. It is, man. And he is such a precise, effective, precision puncher, especially on the inside. He's just I think Ramirez is one of the most underrated fighters in the world. Like, I legit feel like his name should be mentioned in a little bit more esteemed of a group, because I think he's really that good of a fighter. But this is the fight for him. Like, he's had other good fights before against Amir Imam and others. He's had some good fights, even though Amir Imam wasn't quite himself at that fight. But some of that, I believe, had to do with Jose Ramirez because he's that good. But this guy, man, he's the real deal. He is the real deal. And he's going to get a really good chance to show everybody that he is, because he's in there with a good fighter. He's in there with Maurice Hooker. We're talking about two guys that are undefeated. Maurice Hooker does have 3 draws on his record, which is one of the reasons why I'm thinking when you got a guy who tends to fight in close fights as much as Hooker, that's something that kind of just consistently happens. And so you think about there always being a tight score. But I think that the work rate will be a factor for Ramirez. And I think that he ends up winning the fight by a split decision. And like I said, I would not be shocked at all to see that fight spawn a rematch.